Hello all, I'm Ron Burke, Editor-in-Chief for GamingTrend.com, and today we'll be discussing the ins and outs of the two new jobs available in Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker, Reaper and Sage. Sage and Reaper are the two new jobs available to adventurers in Final Fantasy XIV's upcoming expansion, Endwalker. At the media tour, we spent some quality time with these jobs to get a feel for how they play, and while they can be a little bit more complicated than other jobs, they're a ton of fun to play. I'm not an expert on theory, crafting, or rotations by any means, so take that information with a grain of salt. Reaper is a melee DPS job originating from Garlean farmers who chose violence. Their rotation involves performing your melee combos while working in avatar attacks to build up to a burst. For a single target, you'll begin with Slice, then Waxing Slice, and finally Infernal Slice, which increases your soul gauge to a total of 30 for the combo. Soul Slice, which has 2 charges, will instantly increase your gauge by 50 points, much like the Warrior's Infuriate. For AoEs, your equivalent are the 1-2 combo of Spinning Scythe and Nightmare Scythe, as well as Soul Scythe, which is similar to Soul Slice. In addition, Reapers can inflict a debuff on enemies that will increase their damage on that target by 10%, and, if the target dies while it's still active, increase the soul gauge by another 10 points. Once you reach 50 points, you can summon your avatar for a devastating attack. You can then follow this up with skills that increase the Shroud gauge by 10 each. Gibbet and Gallows are attacks you alternate between and have positional requirements for maximum effectiveness, while Guillotine is a conal AoE. Repeating this process until the Shroud gauge reaches 50, you can then use Enshroud to become one with your avatar. In this state, Gibbet, Gallows, and Guillotine become much more powerful abilities, but without the positional requirements. Using these actions will consume stacks of Lemure Shroud, and once you run out, the rotation begins once again. Overall, Reaper is an incredibly fast job that's a ton of fun to play. Its incredibly edgy style captivates my inner emo, and I can't wait to spend more time with it come November. Check out some gameplay footage with Trusts before we jump into the Sage. Meanwhile, Sage is a healer with origins in Old Charlayan and uses floating weapons called Nuliths. When playing Sage, you're essentially a walking Gundam, able to pew-pew lasers and heals in equal measure. Like pretty much every other healer in the game, Sage has a range attack that they spam, and a damage over time skill that they have to keep up over time. However, unlike other healers, they're actually the same skill. Eucratia is a GCD ability which augments other actions. In addition to removing their casting time, it turns your spam spell, Dosis, into a dot. The single target heal Diagnosis instead applies a shield, and the Medica equivalent Prognosis becomes more like Succor. This is your bread and butter, along with Cardia, which allows damage you deal to heal yourself and a party member that you've placed a skill on. Pretty much every other part of your kit is an OGCD that utilizes Sage's job gauge. I apologize to the people I healed in the Tower of Zot dungeon, but we did eventually make it through with me utilizing a more limited set of skills. First off, let's go over what I do know. Every 20 seconds, Sage gains a stack of Adderskull, of which they can hold 3, symbolized by these little blue eggs. Many skills, like Drew Shoal, a bigger single-target heal, spends Adderskull. They're essentially Adderskull skills for every situation. Timed heal, a group heal, a shield, even some attacks use this resource. You may be tempted to constantly use these skills instead of your normal heals and spells, but since it accrues fairly slowly, you'll want to spread out your usage. If you run out in a pinch, it can be a struggle to keep your tank alive. As you use up Adderskull, you'll begin to accrue Adder Sting, which can then be spent on powerful offensive skills, Toxicon or Toxicon 2. Sage can be a very hectic job, and I wish I had more time to spend with it to really learn its intricacies. I'm still not entirely sold on the pure/barrier split happening in Endwalker. As with Cardia, I feel Sage is more closer to a pure healer than a barrier-like scholar, but since this is a work in progress with everything subject to change, we'll just have to wait and see. Still, it's a very fun job that really feels like a green DPS. Special thanks to Elliot of Massively Overpowered, Jesse Cox, and ItMeJP for helping me capture the Sage footage. What are your thoughts on the new jobs? Be sure to check out our other videos and our big preview article from the media tour, and stay tuned to GamingTrend.com for more on Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.